In today's lesson, we are going to talk about repetition, permutation where repetition is allowed. But before then, let's review what we did in our previous lesson. We spoke about the basic counting principle, where we said there are two main basic counting principles in permutation and then combination. They are the multiplication principle and then the addition principle. We said the multiplication principle is when event consists of sequence of choices or tasks, and the number of ways to perform each task is independent of the choice made for the other task. So let's say you have a ball. Let's take a ball. You have about 5 balls in a box. You have about 5 balls in a box, 5 different balls in a box. You have 5 different balls in a box. Then you have red ball, then you have blue ball, then you have this ball. So having these balls actually mean that you can make some selection, and these selections, let's say you want to, how many different ways that this can be selected is by taking one at a time. So if you want to select this 4 different balls in a box, how many different ways can it be done, right? So anytime you want to take such a task, you realize that it's going to be in sequence. So after selecting the first ball, so here the first ball will have 4 possibilities, and then the second ball will have 3 possibilities, and then the third ball will have 2 possibilities, and the last will have 1 possibility. So as we said earlier, but you realize that since the selection is in sequence, we used the multiplication principle. Now there are other events that are mutually exclusive. When they are mutually exclusive, it means that they cannot happen at a time. They cannot be done in a row. They cannot be sequential. The selection cannot be sequential. That means that always you have to use the addition principle. This is when you have cases such as you have one box. This is a typical example, and then there are balls in there. So you are selecting a ball from different box. So you realize that you can't select them in a row. You can't select them in a sequence form. They cannot occur at the same time, because with the previous example, you realize that even if you were to take 2 balls at a time, it could be possible. You can take 2 balls at a time from the box. The previous example, you could take 2 balls at a time, either red and then blue ball at the same time. But here it is not possible to dip your hand into the box and then take 2 different balls. Let's say these balls are ball B and then ball A. You can't take ball A and ball B at the same time. So it means that they cannot occur. If events cannot occur at the same time, we say they are mutually exclusive. Whereas selections or objects that can occur at the same time, but then they are independent. When we say they are independent, the selection of one does not depend on the other one. We say that they are mutually inclusive, and for that matter, the multiplication can be used. But in this case, the addition principle is involved because they are mutually exclusive. They cannot happen or they cannot occur at the same time. Then we proceeded to also talk about how to use some of these examples. We use dice roll, and then also we use the cases where we have a number overlapping 2 events, but then there is a number that can occur in the first event and then the second event. In this case, we use the inclusion exclusion principle. Then we also spoke about how we can combine other items there are some problems that involve using the two basic principles, that's addition and multiplication, and there are something that requires only one. So you have to be very careful when dealing with such questions. So here we used this example as one. We used this example as one, whereby we had different letters. We had different letters and then also a number on the same code. So this one, they were on the same code, and for that matter it was sequential. So since it is sequential, it means that always the multiplication principle must be applied. So we looked at this and then we realized that the multiplication was the best option, and then we also looked at where we can apply both. Where you can apply both is when you want to form another code, and let's say that code is 9. That code is 9 numbers. So after forming that code, then you have to add it to. So let's say you want to form another code that consists of only 10 numbers from 0 to 9. So this one, to the gate code, so you have 10. Repetition is allowed, so 10 times 10 times 10, so that's going to be 1000. So 1000, then you add 1000 plus 2600, and that will give you 3600. So that's where you can use also. Thanks for watching. Let's begin with today's lesson in the next video. Bye.